never seen that.
Also, wonderful part of the set is its original box. Now, we haven't shown everything. There's also a ticket booth and lots of cutouts of characters. Inside, we also have the large composition Mickey ticket taker. Now, all that fit inside this box. This all breaks down. It's a plaything, and it's made out of cardboard. So a kid would open it up on Christmas and probably set it up once, and the cardboard gets thrown away, and they play with the train. So you do find the train, but very, very, very rarely do you find the tent. And that's what makes this set really good. Now, there's a little bit of condition issues. On the tent, there's a few little tears and wear on the edges and things, but it's not a really huge deal. It's well preserved, the whole thing. In all your research, did you come along with any pricing?
Well, in one book that said it could be worth from $1,000 to $3,000. Then I saw another book and they said $700 to $2,000. So it was all over the place.
Right.
So it's hard to tell.
Yes, and you have to be, at this level, very picky about condition. It's not mint. A mint example would obviously bring a little bit more. This example is extremely fine. And it's one of the greatest Disney Mickey Mouse toys from the 30s. It's desirable to more than just a Disney person. Lots of people love this toy. The proper auction estimate for the condition that we have here is $10,000 to $12,000, and it could bring, you know, a little bit more.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot more than I anticipated. If I'd have sold it for $900, I'd have really been upset.
My mother actually wanted to get rid of them, and I just thought they were quaint and kind of cute, and I would hang them up, so I took them.
So you rescued them from the garbage bin.
Basically.
Unbeknownst to your mother, these are the work of an extremely well-known Boston artist, and his atelier, if you will. The principal artist is William Matthew Pryor, and he worked with several of his family members. You were saying earlier how you thought some of the works were done by different artists, and you're right, they were. All of them were working in the same style in this sort of, you know, garret production studio. Pryor's price points for his portraits are very well documented, so it's very interesting that this portrait has got $3 on the back of it. Whereas this portrait, which is somewhat larger and which has a background to it, has got $4. That represents a little bit of his pricing structure. It's very typical that they're done on Academy board rather than canvas. That was the predominant material with which this group of artists worked. Sometimes you do see them on canvas, more often it's this. Now, you've never had these appraised or you don't know anything about their value. So when you talk to your mother tonight and you remind her how she was going to throw them out, tell her that the whole group of four is worth about $30,000 to $50,000.
Wow. Oh, my.
So that's pretty good.
I think my brother and sister will maybe come over to my house. They belonged to my aunt's mother-in-law that had come over from England, and when she died about 50 years ago, my aunt thought they were junk and didn't want them and threw them in a trash can out back, and my mom was there, saw that, and asked her, well, can I have them then? And she said, sure, and Mom dug them out of the trash can and has had them all these years. Mom wanted to know what these were for years. Unfortunately, she died several years ago and never did find out, so coming to the roadshow today, I'm feeling like I'm kind of fulfilling Mom's dream of finding out what these were.
Getting a little closer to the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, looking at these, would you think that they were made by the same factory?
Probably not.
You know, they were.
Were they?
They're both made by Dalton Lambeth, which is an English factory that did this type of work in the 1860s through the 1880s, well into the 1900s when they became Royal Dalton. Now, there were two distinct types of wares. There were the commercial wares, which were the sort of almost assembly line, you know, you glaze it, you mold it, that sort of thing. And this represents that. It has a nice glaze of blue and green, very pretty, very attractive. On the bottom here, we have the marks, Dalton Lambeth, mold marks, painter's marks, and it would be considered your ordinary piece of Dalton Lambeth. Over here, and this is the funny one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Little guy pounding away on a piano. The interesting thing about this is the mark that you find right here on the side of the piano, which is GT in a monogram. That stands for a gentleman by the name of George Tinworth. And actually, George Tinworth is considered really pretty much the father of what became Royal Dolphin figurines. He did a lot of figurines of mice and of frogs and very, very interesting terracotta figure groups that are just absolutely loved by collectors worldwide. So we have a George Tinworth mark here and a different mark on the bottom, and that's why you said it looks so different.
Right.
These are the ones that the true artists did. Rather than assembly line material like this one, these are the ones where they're really, truly sculpturing. He was probably one of the most important sculptors for a pottery in the late 19th century. So that having been said, an example like this, even with a little damage you have here to the brim of this hat, you'd want to insure it for about $2,500.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
And this one's worth maybe about $100.
Wow.
Insurance. Look at the
Wow.
difference between
Oh
the
my
two.
gosh.
He's making beautiful music over there.
That's awesome. Now, what if his hat had not been broken?
You would probably want to insure it for more around $3,800 or $4,000. So
Really?
it does make a difference.
Wow. You're making me tear up.
I work in a civic building, and they were standing by the trash pile waiting to be thrown out, and I liked them. I was attracted to the quality, and when I saw the label and saw it was the public art, I said to my boss, "You can't throw those out," and he said, "Well, if you want them, take them. Nobody else wanted them."
Well, you're absolutely right that they are the WPA prints, as you can tell by the labels that you see on the bottom of both of the frames. These plaques in brass, which say they're from the WPA. It's very unusual to find prints of this nature in the original frames.
Okay.
And it's a good thing that they were in the frames because it tipped you off to that. The prints are by a German-born artist who works in Milwaukee, Gerhard Baker. And he did primarily linoleum cuts and wood cuts, and these are a pair of linoleum cuts.
Okay.
They're unusual, first in the frames that they're in, and because they were done for the WPA, they're also in a very small edition. They normally didn't print much more than 15 impressions
At a
of
time.
these. They're also very interesting because of their semi-industrial nature.
Right.
The views are very stark, and the technique itself lends itself to the depictions here. They're actually in very good condition, too. It's unusual to find these prints in good condition, and as I said, in the original state that they were issued. I've never seen them in the frames with the plaques on them. If they came up to auction, they would bring about $2,000 for the pair.
So I have to tell my boss?
You did very well. No, you don't have to, but you did very well for finding these and salvaging them, more or less.
Wonderful. Yes. Oh, I didn't actually dare to see them thrown out. Thank
They're
you.
wonderful.
Friends of my husband's family had passed away, and the family was cleaning the house out, and they didn't want it. They were going to throw it in the garbage, and we liked it, so we could have had it, and they gave it to us.
This box is a French box made for Cartier in Paris in the 20s, very Art Deco, very high style Art Deco, and even though it's a smoking item, it's such wonderful quality. Smoking items are not in necessarily now, but still the quality is very much there. It has a Orientalist motif. We have a 19th century white jade plaque here, Chinese, with 4 jeweled coral elements, one in each corner. Top one here is missing, but that's not really the end of the world. This is 14-karat yellow gold that has been enameled with these Chinese prosperity symbols. It's a wonderful little box on that level. Let's see if we can go in here. It is marked Cartier, Paris. Delightful 1920s element. I would think that a good auction estimate for this would be $5,000 to $7,000.
Oh my gosh.
So that's not bad for something that was going to the trash, huh?
Right.
I found it at my local dump.